Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Play Touhou Doom. This time we're going through the extra episode of Touhou Doom, Extra Story. So, last time we killed all the demons, we beat their boss, everything's basically fine now. All that's left is the post-victory celebration with all of our old friends. Let me collect these spell cards before we start the festivities, even though I'm not planning on using any of them. So, the extra story is several boss fights in a row. The first like 5 or so of them aren't too difficult, but they start getting pretty tricky, and then they end with one of the hardest fights in the entire game. But for now, it's just a little bit of a warm-up with Yuko here. Each of the bosses use spell cards that, well, some of them are taken directly from story mode, some of them are a little bit harder, some of them are actually entirely new, like this one. When we fought Yuko, she was just the first boss of episode 2, so she didn't really have anything too particularly difficult. Even just to be a warm-up for the 5th episode here, she needs to get some slightly trickier ones. With this one, the butterflies are aimed directly at me, and then the diamonds are just random. So as long as I keep moving a little bit to the side, the butterflies will never touch me, and I just need to pay attention to the diamonds instead. There we go, nothing too difficult though. The way the extra story is laid out here, it's kind of like one of the fighting game spin-offs. Touhou is a Bullet Hell series, obviously, but there are some official fighting game spin-offs as well. And the story of those games frequently goes something like this, where you just get to see a bunch of old characters in a row, like 10 lines of dialogue between the fights at most, and then straight back into the fights. The progression is roughly the same as well. The first few characters only have 2 spell cards, and then you get 3 or 4 from there. Anyway, so Suka here. She's barely changed from story mode, which isn't, or I keep saying story mode, but I really do mean something more like the main campaign, right? It's not like there's a non-story mode to this game, but anyway. Yeah, she's still got the same Deep Mist Labyrinth. It's still one of the easiest spell cards in the entire game, even if you dodge it up about this close. They didn't even make it a little bit harder, which is kind of strange. Or I can just dodge it back here, and then it's just completely trivial. I don't want her to pin me against a wall just in case, though. Let's go over this way. And then for her second spell card, Night Parade of 1 million Oni. I believe I said this last time I fought Suka, but I really do prefer the old localization of Pandemonium. Isn't it just such a cooler name? Anyway, Night Parade of 1 million Oni, also not the hardest spell card in the world. Goodbye, Suka. We get a full heal, an autosave, and an extra spell card between every single fight. It's a bit of overkill for these first few, honestly. So, in my practice run, I noticed something cute about Sanai's spell cards here. In the main campaign, she used her spell cards from Touhou 10, but in this fight, she uses her spell cards from the extra stage of Touhou 11 instead. Why am I bothering to make such a tiny note? It's because that's the stage that I showed off in my demonstration of Touhou at the start of video 1. It's one of my favorite stages and one of my favorite, well, yeah, it's one of my favorite stages and she's the mid-boss of it. It's not like she's the big reason I love it so much, but she's a part of it. So these three spell cards I am quite intimately familiar with, although from a bird's eye view rather than from a first-person perspective. Oh goodness, the frame rate's getting bad again. Should I have turned off all of my programs this time as well? So with Bumper Crop Rice Shower here, I make quick movements to the side to split up these red bullets, and then it makes just a big enough gap for me to go through the other way. The blue, yellow, and green bullets are a little bit trickier to dodge, but I suppose I just have enough health to tank them. Hmm. It's her, the Devil's Caretaker. Cute. Okay. Sakuya also only has 3 spell cards. We're not quite in the real fights yet. Alright, so Silverbound, circles of knives that bounce off the walls. I can't really do much about the ones that are going to slam into my back, but I can at least try to dodge the ones in front of me and to the side of me. Oof. With My Knives Recursions, which is a spell card that I don't actually know the origin of. Is this just one made up for Touhou Doom? Anyway, she stops time, throws a whole bunch of knives, and then they start bouncing off the walls as well. So you need to kind of imagine where they're going to end up after one bounce. They generally end up in a giant cloud, so you don't need to be precise, you just need to have a rough idea of where they're going. Ugh! Unlike me, apparently. Goodness. Why is this spell card so difficult today? In my practice run, I managed to dodge it without too much trouble. And then Silver Acute 360 here surrounds you with knives. So once again, I'm going to just try and move away from it and go a little bit to the side each time. The middle of the pattern is always directly aimed at you, so if you circle around her a little bit, you'll be aimed up with the gaps instead of with the knives. Man, that was so close. I wasn't expecting that one to take me down to 15. Yomu actually gets to have her full title at the bottom there. For some reason that hasn't been showing up for the characters before her. Sorry, I was a little bit early there, wasn't I? Yomu's fast enough where I'll probably want to use a homing shot instead of trying to pin her down with persuasion needles. Because Yomu was the very first boss of episode 2, she did not really get to show off any of her attack patterns and gimmicks at all. But this time around she's got 3 spell cards and they're all of a fairly high difficulty. So her first gimmick is she can turn her phantom into another copy of herself. But it's still the same old easy attack pattern as long as you don't get pinned against a wall. If they fire the blue bullets, you stand still, and if they fire the red bullets, you move, but you have to pay attention to both at once. It's easy enough. Now for her actual gimmick. Yomu is very fast. She's so fast that it actually looks like time is slowing down when she actually charges at you. It's weird magic relativity. So when time slows down like that, you have to already be moving to the side, or she's going to get you with the dash. If she does it twice in a row, it gives you a chance to dodge through the bullets with a little bit more precision because of the slowed down time. With 3 cons, 7 hakus here, the slowing down time actually mainly just helps you, honestly. She's just standing still over there. The gaps are fairly tight, but if you move backwards during the normal time, and then only go forwards during the slowed time, then it means you can make very precise movements through them. A single thought in the infinite kalpas here is a bit of a trick, just like it is in the game that it comes from. When the screen turns grey, time does not actually slow down, it's just trying to, like, trick you into having your muscle memory betray you based on the last spell cards. Although she didn't have a lot of health, did she? It didn't really give a lot of time to, show off the gimmick. Oops. Her final line there is, "Then go ahead, I won't blame you." I was so eager to swap my weapons that I completely overrode it. Anyway, Yukari here is going to use spell cards that are fairly similar to the ones she used in the main story, although I think they might be a little bit trickier, especially the last few. The first one, a double black death butterfly. This one is the one that I think is unchanged. Again, the red butterflies go clockwise, the blue butterflies go anti-clockwise. As long as you can remember that much, you won't get tricked by them suddenly swerving into your face. And then this one is a harder version of Ran Yakumo from earlier. Maybe I should have a homing spell card so I can freely look around. The bullets are going to be coming from every direction as the Shikigami fly around. Okay, there's a few on the right. Oh. Not exactly enough health to show off the gimmick very well. Oh, where was that laser going? It's like she thought I was only going to circle strafe around her counterclockwise, so she tried to set it up far ahead of me. Okay, Yukari's spiriting away. This one might also be unchanged, but it's also just kind of an annoying spell card in general. She chases you around and fires laser beams aimed directly at you, so not only do you have to run away from her, but you can't just run away in a straight line or the laser beam will get you. There we go. Oh goodness. Her final spell card is an entirely new one, Yakumo's Nest. These line bullets are trying to force you to get trapped in like a web-like pattern, and then the laser beam is aimed directly at you. Ah, goodness. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I was trying to find gaps in the web that allowed me to dodge the laser beams, but I wasn't doing a very good job of it. The dialogue in the extra story kind of highlights another weakness of this game's dialogue. It relies quite heavily on running jokes and mimetic lines from Touhou, like Marisa's "shoot and I'll move in a flash" line, which is a really cute spin on that idiom, well, not idiom, but thing police say, I guess? I think. But she uses it twice in this game, and then she makes jokes about backup Hakuros like 2 or 3 times. Sanae makes 2 jokes about common sense just because it's something she said in Touhou 11. Oh goodness, we're already going. It's something that I don't even really appreciate that much as a Touhou fan, and then if for some reason a non-Touhou fan was watching this or playing along, they just wouldn't really get it at all. These lines were funny because of the context they were in, not just because they were a thing that got said and we all loved it immediately for no reason. Anyway, Marisa uses more powerful versions of the spell cards she used in the main story, like Andromeda here, which is a slightly beefed up asteroid belt. God, and we get to listen to Magus Knight just one more time, aren't we lucky? Galactic Cannibalism here, which is a beefed up version of... what's it called again? Arere something? Whatever. I can't see her, I'm going to use a homing shot. Oh goodness. The blue stars and the red stars are a little bit faster than all of the other colors. You need to be paying attention to those ones. And then for the rest of her spell cards, she uses souped up versions of Master Spark. So here I need to pay attention to both of the warning lasers at once. Sometimes she's trying to trick you. Like in that case, she fired both of them too far to the right, so if I tried to circle strafe around to the right, I would have ran into the second one. But by paying attention, I figured out that I should go left instead. Her next one, Chain Gun Spark. This one's a little bit more simple, but simple can be effective sometimes. The Master Sparks are aimed at you over and over again, so all you need to do is circle strafe in one direction. But they're constant enough that you can't really go slowly, which forces me into these stars quite a lot. I can't afford to stop for even a second, or the laser beams will catch up with me. So I need to just keep finding gaps on the right without ever thinking about, well, what if I stood still instead? Oof. And now Super Shotgun Spark. Get the heck out of the way! And then it's too much for her poor body to handle. Okay, stop right there. I'm putting in a splice point. This fight's hard. One moment. Alright, that's 3 practice attempts. Now for attempt number 4. So, the extra boss of the extra story, Reimu Hakare. She's basically the hardest thing in the entire game. Now that I've had a few runs against her, yeah, I can confirm it. This is harder than Mephistopheles. Actually, it's maybe not as hard as the Cyber Annihilators, but it's actually possible to beat this without using spell cards, so it's more fun. It's the most difficult thing in the game that isn't just bullshit. Anyway, if you'll recall, when we fought Reimu in the main story, circumstances beyond either of our control ended the fight early, before she even got a chance to use some of her coolest moves. So we don't even know who's the strongest, or who's the coolest person, or who's the biggest badass. But it's fine, we can fix that now. Okay, so, look up in the top right corner there. Reimu Hakare has even more spell cards than most extra bosses do. And also, as I found out on a couple of my practice attempts, that the amount of stars is a lie as well. She actually has one more than that. Oh boy. This is an extremely long fight and you do not get a lot of healing, so every single hit I take matters. She starts off with Fantasy Seal. When she fires the Orbs of Light one at a time like that, or like this, it means she's firing the homing versions. And then that big burst is the non-homing variant that you can just try to weave through instead. Oh, please get away from me. The homing shots have quite a decent turning radius on them, so it's pretty difficult to lure them into a wall. You really do have to kite them around for quite a while before they might give up on you. Okay, I started off that one pretty bad, but I managed to salvage it a little bit at the end. When Reimu flies around like this during her non-spell card attacks, all of her bullets basically just slam into the ground. The game is not really designed for 3-dimensional play like this. Her second spell card, Disaster Dispelling Prayer. It's almost reminiscent of Master Lightwings' third spell card, isn't it? Although when you're very far away from it, you only end up having to dodge one wave of it, which is very nice. Ugh. It's still a tricky kind of pattern though, I hate this crisscrossing stuff. There we go. One more? Got it. Alright, I can dodge this if I really prepare myself. Come on. Okay. Well, I've got a bit of a breather here on her non-spell card attack pattern again. I will say that the music we're listening to right now, Dream Express, for starters, it's a fantastic song. It comes from, God, what's it called? The first big famous Touhou fan game, or one of them anyway, Concealed the Conclusion. This game rips a lot of official Touhou music. It's been doing that basically throughout the entire game, which, I'm not going to mince words, that is just absolutely against the rules. Like, not even copyright law, really. I just mean, like, the rules for fan games that Zun very nicely asks you to follow. And then taking a song from a fan game as well, just directly like this, also leaves almost a worse taste in my mouth, if I'm being honest. But, yeah, it's a bit of a black mark against the game, sorry, and that's the last I'll speak of it for now. Anyway, back to the actual fight. Her previous spell card, Radiant Yin-Yang Orbs, or whatever it's called, and this one, Divine Spirit Orbs, they're both fairly similar spell cards. They're too chaotic to really have any kind of pattern to them that you can manipulate. So instead I just try to stay as far away from as possible and just use my own reaction speed to figure out where it's going and dodge it. I don't believe I've been hit yet, although she is getting a little bit closer to me, so I hope she gets out of the spell card soon, just like that. And she goes back to flying, so I get another moment where all I need to do is run around in circles and I'm fine. As I get lower and lower on health, I'm going to try and save that heal in the center for as long as possible. Like I said, this is a very long fight, every single hit point matters. So with Omnidirectional Demon Slaying Circle here, it's very similar to a spell card that she used in the main story. In fact, it might be identical as far as I can tell. The only difference is, because every single hit point matters, I need to dodge through the entire previous wave before I even think about turning around to look at her again. I don't want even a single stray bullet slamming into me. I haven't taken damage in quite a while. Ah, damn it. Shouldn't have said anything, should I? But still, going that long without taking damage, even if I did end it in an embarrassing way, is a very good sign for the fight. We're getting to about the halfway point now, and I have not used the full heal yet. So extrapolating this out a little bit, it almost seems like I might win this time. Okay, Fantasy Seal Circle. It's basically the same thing as Fantasy Seal, only this time she always uses the extremely homing shots instead of sometimes using a burst of non-homing ones. So I need to pay very close attention to where I've moved, where I think the balls of light that I'm kiting around are. Oh boy, they're right on my tail, but it's fine. But really, you just need to dodge the balls of light based on instinct, or kite them around like Revenant rockets. You want to be paying more attention to the amulets so you don't just slam into too many of them and take a bunch of unnecessary damage. Oh goodness. Okay, definitely time to heal now. Here's another spell card that's basically just taken from the main story, Fantasy Seal Blink. Just like last time, she teleports around, alternating between shooting waves of amulets and homing shots at you. It's pretty difficult to track her down, but a homing shot does just fine. Actually, I think this might be a tiny bit easier than the one she uses in story mode, or at the very least it feels like it. She hasn't really managed to touch me that much in any of my practice attempts so far. Yeah, just keep using that flying attack pattern, Reimu. You'll get me with it one day. Ugh, okay, fine. She did tag me for 6 damage just then. Only because I tried to get a little bit too close to her corner. Alright, I want a homing shot for this too. Hakare Gravity Release Barrier is a spell card that isn't really... It doesn't really come from any kind of Touhou game I've ever played. Because it does something quite unique. It gives Doomguy the ability to fly. There's no such need for anything like that in the bullet hell games, because everyone can fly already. It's quite a tricky spell card, there's bullets flying everywhere, but because you have access to all 3 dimensions, there's always a way out. You don't need to weave through anything, you just need to fully avoid it. We get to keep the ability to fly for this next one as well, Fantasy Nature. Fantasy Nature here is kind of a well-designed spell card, honestly. It's a lot simpler than the last one, but the way the bullets whip around like this, it's so difficult to avoid them, even in 3 dimensions. I'm only just barely dodging them. You need to circle strafe while also traveling upwards and downwards every now and again. But if you get too predictable with your up and down movements, she'll put the whips of bullets right in front of you like that. So you need to be constantly juking up and down. She's really high up, so I can't really get above her. I just need to juke between staying on level with her and getting below her. I was talking up this spell card, but I don't think it's hit me yet. In my practice attempts, I was having a little bit more trouble with this one. Well, I never died to it, but I was taking little bits of damage here and there. It was weakening me for the next few. No, I think I've just got the pattern on lockdown now. Okay, maybe I finally figured it out. I think I was trying to stay a little bit too close to her in my previous attempts. Alright, gravity's back on. So, if you're very eagle-eyed, you might have noticed that she had 1 star remaining when she used Fantasy Nature, and now she still has 1 star remaining. That's because she's a cheater! In my practice attempts, I thought this was supposed to be the final spell card because I wasn't actually paying that much attention, but no, she has 1 more after this one. Anyway, the universe... It also looks like a final spell card, doesn't it? Because it's just nice, simple bullet hell. Just absolutely clean, full of respect for the player. No gimmicks, just dodging. Also, just like most final spell cards do, this one gets a little harder as you keep dealing damage. She adds a new color every now and again. We're almost dealing with the full pattern now. But this is the kind of thing I'm pretty good at, even with the slightly lower frame rate. Ah man, it feels good just to be doing what I'm best at with nothing distracting me. Ah, darn. Right at the end, I get hit by a few to taint my otherwise almost perfect run. Will you just die? Am I not... Maybe I wasn't aiming at her correctly. Anyway, this final spell card is a bit of a mouthful. Also, it doesn't really represent a spell card. Instead, it's supposed to represent Reimu falling back to the final strategy of a desperate bullet hell player. She's just going to be spamming all of her bombs at us. So, with this spell card, she can use any of her previous attack patterns from the entire fight, and she has a whole bunch of hit points to spam them all with. Which I suppose is supposed to represent her going invincible every few seconds, like a desperate bullet hell player would. So she's using Fantasy Seal, she's using Demon Binding Circle, or Demon Slaying Circle, sorry. While every now and again just swapping back to her non-spell card attack pattern. Oh, Fantasy Seal Blink. Oh, and again, I think the homing bullets are all behind me. What's she doing now? I can't even see her. Oh, there she is. Okay, another Demon Slaying Circle. Okay, what's up next? Okay, Divine Spirit Orbs. Back to the regular shot. Another Demon Slaying Circle, right in the middle of everything. I'll try and get to the other side of it without taking too much damage. Ah, Radiant Yin Yang Orbs. Now there's an attack I'm always happy to see. Fantasy Seal. The homing version. Oh goodness, there's a lot of stuff behind me. Okay, I managed to kind of juke past it. Another Fantasy Seal. Which one's this? Looks like yet another Fantasy Seal. Now more Yin Yang Orbs. Oh boy. Another Fantasy Seal, but I can run this way, I think. Ah, Yin Yang Orbs, you've sealed your fate. I think I can finish her off before she gets another smarter idea. There we go, and that's the fight. So that's Reimu without any spell cards. Without any of my spell cards, anyway. And now we can finally teleport back home with our head held high. So, even without my 3 failed attempts at the Reimu fight, that still took half an hour. Oh boy. Thank goodness that's just it. Okay, so that finally is all of Touhou Doom. I'm still going to do 1, maybe 2 more videos showing off some stuff that I missed, as well as like maybe a more casual run through of episode 4 so you can see exactly how many tries it takes for me to get through when I'm including all of my failures. But that's all the content. Except for the 1 choice in level 4 of episode 4. Whatever. That's 99% of the content. As for what I'll do with my YouTube channel after this, I don't know. I'm pretty good at other games. Maybe I'll show off some of them as well. There are a few esoteric puzzle games that I want to show off, as well as maybe some other Doom maps. Who knows? I definitely won't let it die for at least another month or 2, let's say. That's the Runespism guarantee. So yeah, see you all on Thursday for more Touhou Doom, and then who knows what's after that. See you all next time.